I'm John, I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be here. Oh boy. I got here an hour early, I meditated, I wrote, I prayed, I did everything to try to get centered. And sometimes there's certain energy that gets me really high. I just have a difficult time with certain things. I'm kind of wired because of it. I feel like I drank 20 cups of coffee and I don't drink coffee. It takes me a minute to get going anyway, regardless of how I feel, so just bear with me. I'm up here just to tell my story, and I've come to a lot of meetings where a lot of people will get up and talk about people whining about their past or whatever. When I came in here, I lived in my past. I lived in my head, that's where I lived, and I constantly, my brain would keep me returning to my young childhood and the violence and the pain that I suffered there. And then other areas of my life, but that's where I lived. So that's why I talk about it, because that's the place I had to learn to come out of, or else I would have been a prisoner of that for the rest of my life. I came to this program through New Directions. When they first opened the door, we have a bunch of veterans here from New Directions, welcome. When they first opened their doors, and that's when my journey began, where I had to start looking at me. And the message that I got there at New Directions in the beginning was the therapists would say, if you can get honest, then you can survive. And the guys that I was with at the time, New Directions has changed tremendously from when I was there. It was more of like a country club in the beginning or something where, they expected stuff from me, but they had no rules yet. They were brand new in what they were doing. And when I get pissed off in a meeting one time and I threatened to kill someone, they decided that we can't do that in meetings, and they changed it. And, when I went out and smoked a joint, and they decided, well, you can't smoke joints, so we changed that. And it went on and on and on. I kept finding myself breaking a lot of the rules without knowing that I was breaking the rules, And that's really how it began. I knew the guy that came up with the name New Directions. I know the total history of it in the beginning because I lived it. And that was a brand new program that governed itself, and that was unheard of in the VA system in this country. We made our own rules. Well, not made our own rules, but we enforced our own rules and stuff. And if someone got drunk, we were the ones that would. I remember one guy, there was a big dude, man, that went crazy one night, and I poured his booze out, and he went crazier. And we strapped him down between two stretchers, and we brought him downstairs, which was the lockup, for crazy people. But that was the beginning, but the story I want to talk about is my insanity and where I came from. I checked into the VA because I was scared that I was going to kill someone. I was so damn filled with rage, and I was so angry with everybody. I was just angry with everybody, I was a Vietnam veteran. I went to Vietnam thinking that if I go and fight a war like John Wayne did, I'd come back and be a hero, and it would take care of the pain and the less than feelings I had about myself, If I could just get over there and kill those bad guys, then I'd be all right, and people would love me. And my dad was a drunk, and I hate being around drunks. I really do. I get really crazy when I'm near anybody that's drinking, or I smell alcohol, because it flashes me back to my childhood. And I'm waiting for the violence to start. And to tell you the truth, sometimes I'm worried about my violence starting, because I get real scared. And anyway, my dad was a nasty drunk with a verbal mouth, and he said a lot of terrible things. And I spent my whole young childhood, hearing that my mother's a slut and a whore and a this and a that. And my mother's a good woman, and I never saw any proof that she ever did anything wrong. But that was his alcoholic mind that he went into. I was born a twin. My twin was 5 hours after birth. My twin died. I was in an incubator for 2 or 3 weeks after that, and just barely made it. I was like 4 pounds, and this was a very long time ago when babies didn't survive at 4 pounds or 4.5 pounds. And that was as a result of my father beating my mother up and trying to get her to abort the baby. He didn't know it was 2. And, so I grew up thinking I wasn't supposed to be here, that, whenever he would get into his thing about pork chops cost 39 cents and all this shit, kids are starving in China, I always felt that he was talking about me, and I was that extra kid that caused him all this pain. And I went from my early childhood on. In the first grade, I ended up with glasses, and they were in the old days, they were very, very thick. Now they have these special lenses, but in those days, hugely thick, and I was teased a lot for that. And to make a long story short, at a very young age, I was broken. I was just broken. I had no self-worth whatsoever. I couldn't stick up a fight for myself. unless my brother made me. My brother used to make me stand up to these people, and he'd kick my butt if I didn't fight. But other than that, I would back down in a minute. And but to hold the rage inside of me and the anger inside, you know, and wanting to get even my whole life. So anyway, that gives you an idea of where I come from, and being bullied on a constant basis all through high school and everything. Now I'll tell you where it started to stop. It started to stop when I had my first drink of whiskey. And when I had my first drink of whiskey, I immediately became Superman, and I thought I could take on the world. And I went out to try to do that, you know. And through high school, I fought a lot, but I was still bullied a lot. So there was still that humiliation of that. And my dad was the kind of drunk that would pee in his pants, and his fly would be open, and he'd walk down by all the neighbors and fall flat in his face in front of them, you know. So I'm really sorry. I know I'm not going to be able to handle this too well. Anyway, he'd fall down in front of the neighbors sometimes, and I was constantly humiliated in that way also. So when I was 21, I joined the Army, and almost immediately, I volunteered to go to Vietnam, and then I went and I came back and went back again. And it was, I saw things there. I saw cruelty and horrors that I never thought I'd be able to see. It's okay. Nobody's going to hurt him. Everybody we take care of our own here. We're just getting them out so we can have the meeting. We're here to get a message, and if we don't get it, we can die, and it's as simple as that. He doesn't want it, so screw him. He'll be back. I mean, I feel that way. I'm sorry. I've buried too many fucking people here. You know what I mean? I really have, and I'm a real diehard here, man. I don't like noise in these meetings. I don't like people reading newspapers while it's going on, or any of that stuff. Because I sponsored people that are dead today because they didn't get the message, you know, and this is fucking serious shit. I've seen more people die here than I saw in Vietnam, and I saw my share of people die in Vietnam, you know. So when we come in here, we've got to get people like that out. There's people here tonight that need to hear the message to stay alive, you know. So it's as simple as that, and nobody's beating them up. Nobody's going to, you know, although I'd like to, I'll tell you the truth. But I can't help it. It creates an energy inside of me that is so old, you know, and it's like that scared kid inside of me that wants to fight again. Well, anyway, you know, what I'm trying to do, and I don't have a lot of time to do it in, is I'm trying to give you a frame of mind that I lived in, you know. When I came back from the war and I thought I was going to be treated a certain way, we all know the history of that, you know, the Vietnam veteran baby killers and all that shit that we had to endure. The Second World War veterans wanted nothing to do with us because we were crybabies and stuff like that. And I caught a lot of that on that ward in New Directions at the time, by the way. There was only 3 of us that were Vietnam veterans, and the rest were either they did nothing but, you know, serve, or they were Second World War veterans, and we caught a lot of shit, you know, because we were these crybaby Vietnam veterans, you know. So it seemed like the harassment in my life was never going to stop. I came into, in New Directions, we went to meetings and stuff, and we had, I don't know if any of you know Eli. Eli, he has a lot of times, my sponsor, as a matter of fact. Eli came up on the ward. This was 27 years ago. I've been sober since. And he came up on the ward one night, and he was one of the first speakers that came, and I was freaking out. I didn't want these alcoholics on the ward. They were going to steal things and stuff, and I was pissed off, you know. And another thing is they came up with this, by about the second time they came up with this idea that the TVs, all TVs will be shut off when they come on the ward, and I was even more pissed, you know. But I went to the meetings, and I went to NA meetings, and I went to AA meetings. We went to both, and I remember coming back from the meetings at night, and on Saturday nights we could stay up all night if we wanted to. We had no curfew, and we just sit up and laugh at these people, these alcoholics, you know. And I was such a liar to myself. I lived in such denial, because I remember being at a meeting one night, and the topic kind of got into people who were having trouble paying their rent, or had lost a job or something like that. And I sat there in judgment like a son of a gun that I had never lost a job, you know. I'd never been unable to pay my rent. I'd been evicted so many damn times drunk that I left whole house full of furniture in there, you know, and they'd put the padlock on the door. I'd just say, screw it, I walk away. I did that to a house. I had a 2-bedroom house. I forgot to pay the taxes. And some guy called me up. He says, give me $1,500, I'll give you your house back. I said, screw it, take it. You know, I don't give a shit. You know, and I just moved on. That's the way I was, you know. And that kind of was the idea of, I'll tell you something, that's something Vietnam gave me, because when I saw people die, you had to keep moving. And that's what I did. And I kept moving in my life, and I made geographics and whatever. I was in Pensacola for 7 years. Florida, and I had a business there, and I built it up inch by inch by inch, but at night I was the crazy man. I was always the crazy man at night. I'd crawl around my house thinking the VC were in the house with me trying to kill me. It was horrible. Always at 3 in the morning I'd find myself in the corner of the room trembling and shaking and wondering where everybody went, because I wasn't in the bunker with anybody. I was all alone, you know, and that was a son of a bitch. So again, that's the frame of mind I came in with. I came in with this whole idea of, fuck it, what's the use anyway? I wanted to die and God wouldn't let me. I actually volunteered to go to Vietnam those 2 times because I'm a Catholic and can't kill myself. I figured I could go there and they'd kill me. And that's what I wanted since I was a little kid. So here I am. I'm starting to go to meetings, and I'm really crazy, and I'm very angry, and I don't have the ability to speak to people or put my hand out. They're saying, I had a guy that worked with me in the beginning, and he said, look, he said, I want you to shake hands with 3 people tonight. And I don't want to hear any shit about it. You know, he was a counselor from, well, he was at New Directions, but he came from down the hill, which was the terror program at that time. And I remember going there, and I couldn't do it. You know, I couldn't do it. I could not stick my hand up. And I wanted so bad to do it because I wanted to stay sober, because I didn't want to get drunk again, because I knew I was going to kill someone. And I didn't want to go to prison, and I didn't want to hurt anybody. I really didn't, because that's not who I am. You know? But when I get drunk, I can think that way, and I can go back into that kind of space. I can be very violent. And I'd go to him and I'd say, I can't do it. If that's what it means. If it means I got to shake hands with 3 people at a goddamn meeting, then I can't stay sober. You know? I can't make my mouth move. I don't know how to be sociable. I don't know how to do it, you know? So, and I didn't. And I'll tell you what, I didn't do it for, I mean, people came and shook my hands, and they did it enough times. I hung out with a group, and we went to meeting. And they shook my hand a bunch of times, and enough times where I had permission to speak to them. But I couldn't do it with other people, you know? And I'd lost my ability 100%. I started drinking at a young age, and I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, why do I have such trouble with in certain areas? You know, I was thinking about like I want to exercise. I gained 10 pounds in the past year, and I'm pissed off about that. And I want to go out and I want to jog in the streets. Why can't I do that? Why won't I let myself do that? And like so many other things, I realize it's because when I was like a young 13-year-old, I was a skinny little kid that anybody who lifted one weight looked better than I did. You know what I mean? I looked like a concentration camp survivor. And I was ashamed and embarrassed to do it. Now here I am this old, and I can't do it. And all of a sudden I realized that I got to work the steps on that, just like I've done everything else. See, and it's like because emotionally on the things that I haven't worked on, I'm still 13 years old. I don't have the ability to deal with life. Okay? There's a lot of experiences that I went through in my life that you might consider very adult situations. But Vietnam, to me, I was a 13-year-old kid playing soldier. You know, that's all I was. You know, I just survived a day at a time. I also had night blindness, those thick glasses that I was telling you about and everything. I couldn't see at night. I had mortar attacks and rocket attacks and all kinds of shit that would come in, and I couldn't find the bunker most of the time, you know. But I still volunteered to go back a second time, because hopefully I'd get killed, you know. But so I see, the thing is that's when I got introduced to the steps of the program. My first sponsor had me write my first inventory. And my first inventory was like 60 pages. It was, you know, autobiography type. And the whole inventory was about what the world did to me and what a victim I was, you know. And it was an honest inventory. That's exactly how I saw life. And my sponsor didn't criticize it. He let me read that, and he let me go on with it. And he was very patient. And all of a sudden, you know, I felt really good, and I was on that high that was supposed to get, and I started trying to get into amends and whatever. And looking at my character defects and whatever. But then 6 months or a year later, I started getting really squirrely again, and that's when he explained to me that you have to start taking a look at your side of this thing. And, you know, and I wrote another inventory. And I've written quite a few inventories over the years. Not always full about my whole life, because if you've written about it, you don't need to keep writing about it unless there's something new comes up. But that was the catalyst that started getting me to change a little bit. I live in a world today that I couldn't explain to anybody if you don't. I say this every time I pitch. In order for me, it would be like my trying to teach a blind man the color red. You know, it's just not anything like I've ever experienced in my life. Okay, I am a foxhole alcoholic. And there's no bullshit. I mean, even in Vietnam, I almost got killed several times when I was drunk and doing stupid things, passing out downtown and stuff like that. And you know, the VC would come in at night. If you were drunk laying on the street, they're not going to help you back to the base, you know. And thank God someone would always find me or see me or something and get me on a pedicab and get me back to the base. And I have other stories, but I'm not going to waste my time with it. But I really seriously almost died a couple of times as a result of my stupidity and my alcoholism. I didn't give a shit. You know, when it was time I needed a drink, I would do everything I could to get one. I started working the steps, like I said. I got into the steps. I started writing. I did the writing. I felt some kind of release, and things got a little bit better. The Vietnam War and my father were the two biggest things that affected me. I wrote about the war and every angle I could look at it, and then something would come on. I mean, the Vietnam War never seemed to die for a long time. If you were around during those days, there was always something. And then they would say, Vietnam-era veteran killed 6 people. Well, Vietnam-era veteran means that he's just served during the war. It doesn't mean he was a Vietnam veteran, but they always seem to like to throw the Vietnam craziness into all the reporting that they did. You know, it always seemed to be the put down and the shame that would seem to come from it. And I would get crazy again, you know, sober and start getting into it. The POW issue pushed me over the edge, and I had to write some more about that. And that one really affected me for a long time. But see, the thing is what I have learned to do is, you know, if you're new, forget this. Just get a sponsor and follow the steps the way you have to. But if you've gone through the steps, what I do with my amount of time now is I use the steps to get through the stuff. See, everything that I do, I have fear connected with it, or I have a resentment connected with it, or some anger directed towards it. And what I do is I kill people on paper, and I started doing this a long time ago. I had major resentments, and there were people that, I used to have one of those day-by-day books, one day at a time books or whatever, and they used to have a little thing, just for today I will. They give you some spiritual thing first. And I found this thing when I had about 4 years of sobriety, and I had written, I just won't kill so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so today, you know? And I thought that was like, you know, a great thing for me to write that kind of stuff. But I used to seriously, you know, if I was really angry, see, I believe that you can't just forgive someone until you've expressed the rage that you hold them. You have to get, for me, I have to get honest with the pain and the anger that I'm feeling towards this person before I can get to any place of forgiveness. Okay, I have to be honest with that. That's what I learned along the way. So I'll write about somebody like someone in Pensacola torched my business. He burned me out. He took advantage of me, sucked me in, learned about all my Vietnam shit, and then he blew my windows out of my shoe. He tried to push me over the edge because I was so shaky, and then he burned me down. And I killed that son of a bitch on paper. I hate that effing son of a gun. I want to kill that bastard. I'd write that sometimes again and again and again, and then when I was done, I'd ask God, please take this anger and rage that I'm feeling so that I can be of better service to you and my fellows. And I would keep doing that and keep doing that. If Mr. Jimmy Dees walked through the back door right now, I'd be the first one to give him a cup of coffee, because he got me here. If he hadn't burned me out, I was still going to be down in that terrible life I lived in and that rut that I lived in. I've done that with my father again and again. It's like I hated my father on paper until I could love my father. I have totally, totally forgiven my father for the things that he did. I totally have empathy for the life that he lived. My father married a girl that he made pregnant. He was a Catholic boy, that he married her because that's what men did in those days, and he did the best he could to support her. He had dreams of being an engineer and all kinds of stuff. He ended up being a truck driver for 8 kids, you know, and he must have had a miserable life. Another thing is he had to look at me every day, and he killed my twin. And that must have been a hell of a thing to have to deal with every day, you know. But I swear to God before you today, I don't have one drop of resentment towards the man anymore, because I have used the program to let that go. You know, I sponsor people and I tell them, you know, kill them on paper. Usually I have people who have major problems with their parents and stuff and brutality. It sounds so crazy, but I'll tell you something, when you spend that rage and you get it out of you, then you can start to get the handle on something. Resentment's #1 killer. It says it all through the book, you know. That's the #1 killer. Does it just kill you as far as dead? No, it kills any joy you may have in your life. It kills any love you may have in your life. You know, I'm getting old, man. You know what I mean? If I'm a Vietnam veteran, I have to be kind of old, okay? Not really old, but getting there, you know? And I'm going to tell you right now, you know, if you're sitting here and you got dreams of getting married or having kids or whatever, and you're not letting the resentment go, you better learn to let go of that girl that fucked you over in high school, or that guy that screwed your girlfriend or something like that, or else you're going to bring that into your relationship. You're going to carry all these things in, and if you don't start letting it go, you'll never change. In 5 years, are you going to still have these kind of fears of intimacy? Are you still going to be going through the same thing? It's all here. If you work the steps, you find freedom. I have a 14-year-old son, and I have an incredible relationship with him. He's 14, and he thinks that his father has nothing very good to say anymore. But if I work the steps, and if I write and I say, God, I'm so angry with Matthew today, please take my anger. Please give me patience and love to deal with him and stuff. Every time I do that and I read it to someone, my son's energy changes for some reason. Or is it mine and he's aware of it? See, that's the whole thing. But I just know that it works. There's freedom here from the bondage of self. What's the bondage of self? The bondage of self to me, see, first of all, I believe that every one of us in this room are born the same. We have the same type of brains, the same functioning, the same everything. So here we are, we're a little 2-year-old, we knock the milk over and Mom's tired, and she sees it. Oh God, why are you such a slob? Well, I must be a slob, Mom said so. You know, someone calls you an asshole in school, you must be an asshole. They're bigger and they know better or something, you know. And you pick these things up all the way along the line, and it distorts your way of thinking of who you are. And that to me is the bondage of self, you know. I was a 4 eyes as a kid. That's a terrible thing, you know. And these things stick to us, and they distort our vision in life of ourselves and how we work. So I realized that, I'll tell you something, in the directions, we had a rule that you weren't supposed to be alone, all this shit. Well, like I said, I broke every rule until they made it different. And we had a closet, and I used to walk, pace all night long, and whenever nobody was looking, I'd get in this closet and I'd close the door in there. And I had what I would consider a spiritual awakening at that time. I realized, see, here I was in a nut ward, and I was the crazy guy. I'm not bullshitting, I'm not trying to make myself sound like a badass. I was the crazy guy. And all these guys, the other guys were cool, and they had it together. They were just visiting, you know. And I realized that I had been taught to be insane. I was not born insane, I had been taught to be insane. And if you look around this world and see some of the people you follow and the cool guys you hung out with, and you look back in your past, you'll say, you know, they're pretty crazy shit. You know, you learn a lot of nonsense and violence and crazy shit out there, and you make it your own. And my belief today is God makes billions of people on this planet because he needs that many just to get a handful of people to do his will. Because we're all stuck in the bondage of self. We're all, you know, like we're trying to be cool, or whatever the word may be today. I imagine it's still cool. But we're following somebody else's dance. And my whole life I had never done my own dance. I had done someone else's, you know. I was a victim to society. I did whatever they did, you know. You want to go beat so-and-so up? Let's go. You want to go get in a fight? Let's do it. You know, whatever the hell you want, I'll do it. My mother would say, if Bobby jumps off the bridge, will you jump off the bridge? Of course I'll jump off the bridge. I have to jump off the bridge. I want to be part. I have to live in this world, man, so I jump off the bridge. Well, you know, that's just the way my life was. It was always somebody else's idea, you know, and I didn't have any. Today I have a life. It doesn't take 27 years to get it. It's because I fought it for so long. My life is absolutely unbelievable. I'm a sculptor today. I've had pieces. I've never had a lesson. I just carve stone and work in bronze, and I have pieces in museums. I really believe, I don't want to sound like whatever, but I really believe that my life is about to change, like major. You know, I just feel it. And I feel like I'm ready and God's ready and whatever. You know, the third step prayer, that last part says I'm to react a certain way to help others. You know, I wish I could quote it, but my head's not screwed on right now. You see, this thing isn't just about alcohol. After you take care of the alcohol, you have to start reaching inside to the demons inside of you that help you to want to destroy yourself. I was self-destructive from the gate, you know, right from the gate. You know, I hated myself. And you know who I want to be when I grow up? Me. That's who I want to be. And that's a big statement for me, a person who hated himself his whole life, that was ashamed to be who I am. You know, I was the drunk son. I was the drunk's brother. I was the, you know, I mean, it's unbelievable, you know, the shit and the embarrassment and the shame that we all grew up in in my family, you know. And it's not like that today. You know, I'm proud of who I am. I have a good life today. And you can have it too, and it's in the steps. It's not coming here and looking cool, you know. It's not playing macho or anything like that. It's doing what we're asked to do here, and your life will change like you won't believe it. It's like I said before, trying to explain this to a blind man the color red. I can't explain to you what it feels like to sit in front of a piece of stone, having no background in it whatsoever, and carving, like I just finished Mother Teresa in stone and bronze, and she's up the street, by the way, and I'm going to just put a plug in because I don't get anything out of it. You know, there's no money involved here whatsoever, but she's up at St. Augustine's Church right up the street. And to be able to create these things and be a witness to it, and watch these things come through you. But the thing is this, is that I don't have the self-worth to do that. And there's day after day after day that I would show up in front of that stone, because I've been taught to show up, and there it is, and I'd freak out, and I'd grab a pen and paper, and I'd say, dear God, please guide my pen. I feel like I can't do this. I'm not good enough to do this. I don't deserve to do this. You know? And I'd write this kind of stuff. I don't feel like I'm an artist. Please help me. And I'd pray, and I'd approach the stone, and I'd just sit there and watch my hands chisel. And I swear to God, that's the truth. May I be struck dead right now. That's the way it happens. And I believe that within every one of us, we have that. It's just all this crap that we've been told about ourselves that distorts us from reaching it. You know? I believe that the reason why so many famous artists and writers and stuff like that, the reason why they got so deep into the bottle, I mean deep, suicidal, crazy, right to the very end, is because they were given praise for stuff they know they didn't really do. I'm very embarrassed. I don't go to the church anymore and tell anybody that I did that piece. I tell my friends to go see it, because I'd like you to go see it, only because you can see what this program can give you if you work it. You know? I mean, miracles happen here. I don't give a shit about your background. I spent 20 years in prison, so fucking what? You know, work the steps and things will change. And you will change. And the biggest thing that I've learned to do in this program is to love. It's also the most painful thing I've ever experienced. Okay? Learning to love and allowing yourself to love and keeping your heart wide open is very, very difficult and very hard, at least for me. And to take the risk. You know, when I married a girl in the program, and her dream was to have a baby, and I said, okay. Eventually I said, fine, let's do it. But, you know, I didn't want to have a kid. I didn't want to bring a kid into this world, because I was just convinced that he would die or he would leave me or something. I love this kid with all my heart. And I'm going to love him every minute that I can love him, because it's the greatest feeling in the world. But it's a scary feeling, because this is a scary world, you know? I've seen kids die. I saw 4 kids blow up one day, you know? And that kind of shit gets into my head and I get afraid. So what I do is I make sure I do everything I can to love my son the most I can today. Because today is all I have. That's all I have. I don't know if I'm going to drink tomorrow. I don't think I will. But I won't drink today. And you know, that's like profound when you think about it. All I have to do is stay sober today. Just today. And my life can change. But if you really want to change it, get into the steps. And start working those steps, and you'll see some changes like you won't believe, you know. God, you know, I have the privilege of sponsoring a lot of people, and I enjoy it most of the time. You know, I want to talk about sponsorship for a minute. Sponsorship, man, is a bitch sometimes. I've had people get drunk and call me up and threaten me and all kinds of shit. You lousy bastard, you, and then, you know, a week later they'll call me up and say, hey, you know that writing thing you had me do, can you sponsor me drunk? I don't want to stop, you know, that kind of shit. So, I mean, that's how much it works, you know. I mean, sponsors sometimes get a bad rep. This idea of firing your sponsor, give me a break. I've never collected any benefits whatsoever other than staying sober. You know, there's no workman's comp, there's nothing, you know, you just do it. And plus, I never get to see the end of a movie or a show on TV again. You know, it's like, it's over, you know, forget it. I don't want to put it down. I love sponsoring. I do. I love helping people, and it brings me out of myself. I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm sorry I've been a little jumpy up here tonight. I'm not normally quite so jumpy, but... You know, an experience like happened tonight, nothing big happened, but what happened tonight flashes me back to a life that was so miserable. And then when I flash back here in this podium and in front of you people tonight, and the feelings of love that I've learned to have and stuff like that is so profound. Because, you know, all those years of wanting to die, You know, I remember one time, way back in my sobriety, I said, fuck it, I'll kill myself. And this little voice inside of me said, you always do that, you know? And you know, I had this feeling like in my life that, like, I started getting into all these theories. I love to get into theories, and I get into these theories of deja vu. People talk about, you know, I feel like I've been here before. And for me, I feel like that's true. You know, I had been here before. Every time I get to a certain point and there's so much pressure, I kill myself, you know? And then I have to come back and do it over. And I haven't had any feelings of deja vu in about 15 years. So I feel like I've come further than I ever have before. And I intend to stay sober till the end. You know, God willing, you know. I don't ever want to go back to where I came from. Anyway, I want to say one more thing. If you're new, try to get something in your head. Remember some embarrassment, shame, or some terrible thing that happened to you when you were drinking, you know, and don't ever forget it, and put it in your head, because that's one of the things that helped to keep you sober from the very beginning, when so many people didn't stay sober, okay? And because whenever I'm in a grocery store and my mouth waters still after 27 years, if I see someone buying some beer, my mouth still waters, watering now when I just said that, you know? And I automatically flash back to being handcuffed in a police station and getting my ass kicked and not being able to shut my damn mouth up, you know? Or I go back to some other thing or whatever. I don't ever let myself forget where I came from. And I want to really leave you with that, because it's crucial. Don't ever romanticize a beer. Wouldn't it be nice? As soon as you're doing that, you're stepping towards going out. And that's been my experience with people for all these years. I've watched them again and again and again with a big smile. Boy, wouldn't it be nice? Yeah, a couple of beers would be nice. It's not going to be nice, not for me. You know, I'm going to become the violent, crazy guy again. Anyway, I want to thank you for putting up with me.